Plus, World Rabies Day re-echoes awareness on need to handle dogs with care. And we begin with national development and corruption fight. The National Ethics and Integrity Policy aimed at enhancing good and ethical conduct of the Nigerian citizenry has been unveiled by President Muhammadu Buhari. Performing the ceremony during the second National Summit on Diminishing Corruption in the Public Sector, the President described corruption as corruptive tendencies as abhorrent to the nation's core ethical values. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the event was organized by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation in collaboration with the ICPC as part of Nigeria's Diamond Jubilee celebration.
The National Ethics and Integrity Policy, already approved by the Federal Executive Council, is part of government's aspiration towards rediscovering Nigeria's cherished traditional ethical values, amongst them honesty, integrity, hard work, truth and justice, unity, faith, as well as consideration for one another, irrespective of status or background.
As I have often reminded Nigerians, if we do not kill corruption, corruption will kill Nigeria.
For the government to deliver the expectations of the governed, President Muhammadu Buhari said the society must be transformed from one in which impunity in the management of national resources is the norm to one in which culture of accountability and transparency prevails.
We need to deploy resources to address our common needs rather than the greed of careless few. We need a corruption-free public sector to achieve this transformation. We need a judicial system that dispenses justice without undue delay and technicality. And finally, we need ethical reorientation of the people to achieve this goal. When we work together against corruption, we can defeat it.
The president said it is only when the three arms and levels of government work together that the country will be effectively served and the positive impact of the service delivery reach all and sundry.
We must all join hands together to fight corruption and return to our traditional values of honesty and integrity. I urge all Nigerians participating in this summit to come up with recommendations on ways to further enforce our laws and prevent corruption in the public sector in Nigeria.
Together Against Corruption is the theme of the summit, and this was the central focus of the goodwill messages delivered by invited guests.
As the theme of the summit suggests, we need to work together as Nigerians, as arms and institutions of government to roll back corruption in our country. I believe that we can achieve our targets with a united front.
The judiciary is ever poised to deploy every relevant legal tool at its disposal to whittle down the strength of corruption in our mindset.
I today witnessed firsthand the commitment of the government of Nigeria under President Muhammadu Buhari to fight corruption. The level of transparency I've had today here is unequivocal. The United Nations will remain an important partner in Nigeria's commitment to fight corruption and achieve sustainable development goals.
During the event, Hamza Adamu Buwai of the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment and CSP Francis Osage Ehobo of the Nigeria Police received Public Service Integrity Awards, while three youngsters, Opeyemi Peter Adeboye, Chikeze Favor, and Matilda Daniels, who won anti-corruption music and essay competitions, got recognized and rewarded.
COVID-19 kills, but corruption kills even more. ICPC alone cannot fight corruption. We all must be involved.
Your Excellency, sir, your unequivocal stand against corruption is a morale booster to the fight against corruption. We assure you, sir, that as your foot soldiers, we will not allow corruption to kill Nigeria.
The ICPC chairman said the commission recovered billions of naira and substantial assets from those who abused trust, including 2.6 billion naira meant for the school feeding program during the coronavirus lockdown. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTAi News.
To regional affairs now, there are strong indications that the heads of state and government of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, are to reconvene for further discussions on outstanding grey areas regarding the political situation in Mali. President Muhammadu Buhari drops this hint while exchanging views with the ECOWAS Special Envoy to the West African nation, former President Goodluck Jonathan. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu once more reports.
President Goodluck Jonathan, who is the ECOWAS Special Envoy and head of mediation mission to Mali, was in the State House to brief President Muhammadu Buhari on the current situation in the West African country. He said after the military takeover, Mali has now appointed a civilian as interim president who will stay in office for 18 months and lead the country back to constitutional order. The action was part of irreducible demands by West African leaders before sanctions imposed on the country could be lifted. Dr. Jonathan, however, said the military leaders are yet to satisfy ECOWAS' demand of a full civilian as vice president and what his roles would be in government. That position is currently being held by a serving military officer who was also one of those that truncated democratic governance in Mali. President Muhammadu Buhari counselled the special envoy to present a formal report to the new ECOWAS chairman, President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana. The Ghanaian leader, he explained, will then write to them officially so that the next line of action would be determined. The president maintained that with about 2/3 of Mali currently under occupation by terrorists, the priority of the military should be to secure their country rather than hold on to power. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTAi News.
And on the global scene, for Africa or for countries to achieve the 2030 agenda, the international community must pay close attention to the nexus between illicit financial flows and the inability of most developing countries to mobilize enough domestic resources to finance their development priorities. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo stated this at the launch of our United Nations Economic Development in Africa report on tackling illicit financial flows for sustainable development in Africa.
Report on tackling illicit financial flows for sustainable development in Africa is launched today. I am confident that we will be encouraged to assess the extent to which we have tackled illicit financial flows and further strengthen our resolve to defeat the scourge. It is my desire to see us all encouraged to challenge policies that assist in harboring proceeds of illicit financial flows, letting state actors realize that their inactions in tackling the scourge affect the lives of millions of people in Africa and deprive our governments of resources required to achieve the 2030 agenda for sustainable development.
Vice President Professor Osinbajo on illicit financial flows at our webinar. Now turning to the legislature, the Senate says when it reconvenes on the Tuesday, the 29th of September 2020, the approval of the 2021-2023 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper will be its immediate preoccupation. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onkwo reports that the legislators reaffirmed their commitment to passing the 2021 budget before the end of this year.
On the 23rd of July, the Senate embarked on its annual recess for 2020. This is shortly after it considered the report of its ad hoc committee that investigated alleged financial misappropriation in the Niger Delta Development Commission. Having exhausted the parliamentary holidays, the senators will be back to the chamber with some issues expected to get priority attention. The report on the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper that was scrutinized by the Senate Joint Committee on Finance and National Planning will be tabled at plenary for consideration.
The Committee on Finance will do the presentation, the Senate will consider the presentation and take its decision. The 2021 budget, which we believe Mr. President will present in, we will do everything within our powers to maintain the budget cycle, from January to December.
The Senate is expected to commence legislative works on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill with March 2021 as target period for passage.
So we want to sit down and work assiduously on the Electoral Act to ensure that a lot of these major issues are concluded before March 2021.
The Petroleum Industry Bill and the Constitutional Review will also be set in motion.
Yes, the procedures have been hampered or delayed by lack of funds, but I believe as we resume, there is going to be an improvement.
Lami Ali completes the story from the House of Representatives.
Thank you, Ignatius. Resumption of plenary for members of the House of Representatives after the annual recess is going to be a totally new experience as the Green Chamber has gone digital. By these developments, proceedings as the House will henceforth be paperless, as all that are required, such as order paper, votes and proceedings, Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and other information can be accessed by members through the computers.
Nigerians have always clamored for accuracy in our voting system. Nigerians want to track our pattern of voting on every national issue. The ayes have it and the nays don't have it. You know, it's no longer working.
Aside the innovation, the period of recess was used for stock taking.
I have taken enough time with the mandate of the Speaker and the leadership of the House of Representatives to interface and engage with various committee leadership to see how we can bring a stop to some of these unusual things happening in the course of conduct of investigations or probe activities. We don't have to fight with the executive, just like we don't have to be their rubber stamp.
Issues of priority as the House settles down include amendments to the Electoral Act, the Petroleum Industry Bill, Constitutional Review, the 2021 budget proposal from the executive, among others. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTAi News.
Talking labor matters now, the organized labor has suspended its planned industrial action over hike in pump price and electricity tariff after an offer of some palliatives by the federal government to cushion the effects of the increases. The suspension of the strike was reached in Abuja after an exhaustive negotiation between the federal government and labor, which led to the signing of a communique by both parties.
At once, and this understanding is to have a plan on how those issues shall be finally resolved in the future. Majorly on the issue of increase in POS price and increase in electricity tariff. We have discussed the issue of the state of our refineries. We turned down on how to achieve sustainable refinement and therefore to divert our policy option from the issue of solely importing.
Federal government to make available to organized labor 133 members CNG LPG driven mass transit buses immediately and provide to the major cities across the country on a scale on the basis thereafter to all states and local government before December 2021.
To set up a technical committee which will work for a duration of 2 weeks to examine the justifications for the new policy in view of the need for the validation of the basis for the new cost-reflective tariff as a result of the conflicting information from the fields which appeared different from the data presented to justify the new policy by Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress, APC, has commended the shelving of the nationwide strike by the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, following the federal government's successful brokering of an agreement with the leaderships of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress on the increase in electricity tariff and the price of fuel. The party, in a statement by its Deputy National Publicity Secretary, Yekini Nabena, says the gesture is a positive development in line with the proven pro-people stance of President Muhammadu Buhari-led APC administration, which has always put the welfare and interest of the masses first in policy decisions and implementation. On the electoral scene, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, prepares to deploy full technology in the conduct of elections in the country. Mia Ogidi reports.
The Edo governorship election is over, and INEC is the smiling child. Almost everyone says thank you and thank you for a job well done.
I've not had anything report at all about the police, and that's a huge difference.
I want to commend INEC for making sure that the people voted in the various polling units.
The thank yous on INEC were made easy by improvement in technology, especially on the uploading of results from polling units, not forgetting the voter register, smart card reader, and voters' cards that are all automated. And INEC does not want to box below our weight anymore. So, electronic voting machines are to be deployed, and 40 manufacturers are already showcasing their products before INEC.
For some time now, the Commission has been working on the deployment of technology in voting during elections to replace the current manual system, which is tedious and requires enormous logistics to deliver huge quantities of printed materials and a large number of ad hoc staff to administer the process.
It is an exciting adventure of determination and commitment by an ambitious umpire trying to satisfy a demanding client. Mia Ogidi, NTAi News.
You're watching the news on NTAi International. We shall take a break now and be back in a moment. Stay with us.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTAi International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview UK channel 264, or you can download www.visiontv.co.uk. App for iOS or Android, Intelsat 901 degree east. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTAi International, Africa's window to the world.
Thanks for staying with us. As part of activities lined up to celebrate Nigeria at 60, a historical arts exhibition got underway in Abuja, the nation's capital city. Anthony Forson was there.
The art exhibition under the auspices of the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture is titled Nigeria, a Country of Colors. It is an opportunity for the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture to showcase the best of Nigeria's cultural heritage to the world and highlight the oneness of Nigerians in the area of traditional dresses, music and musical instruments, visual arts and paintings. There are also beads, textiles, pottery and hairdo, which are the features of our expressions of life in Nigeria. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, who declared the exhibition open, said the exhibition serves as a mirror of the society, depicting our way of life, realities, dreams and vision for the future, pointing out that art functions as a medium of interpreting society and the characteristics of the people's way of life, noting that art has remained a constant appeal, hence the theme for the 60th anniversary celebration, Together.
Our togetherness is inherited from the major cultural streams and is reflected in the diversity of styles. I'm glad to note that our artists are not mere imitators. Rather, they work from intimate understanding, knowledge, and experience of local life, which they are part of.
Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Deaconess Grace Isugekwe, said the exhibition was put up to inject creativity into the celebration.
It is aimed at strengthening and deepening the understanding of our unity in diversity,
as well as the socio-economic era prevalent from 1960 to date.
The exhibition is open to the general public. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTAi News.
And moving on, a dog is said to be man's best friend, which perhaps explains why it is one of the most common domestic animals. This man's best friend, however, carries a certain disease that leads to death whenever it is contracted, especially by children below 15 years. Uche Ugochukwu tells us about this disease that the world has to even set aside a day like this to mark annually.
Like many people, Michael Ogun loves and owns a dog. What separates him from many others, however, is the fact that he knows how to care for his dog.
Every year we get our dog immunized, vaccinated basically. They have the anti-rabies vaccination that you are supposed to vaccinate your dog every year against. And then every 6 months we try and fumigate our compound. Fumigate the compound, fumigate the dog house, and to help kill or prevent a lot of things that might affect the dog and us.
Numerous dogs straying on the streets portend a danger of being carriers of rabies, a highly infectious disease transmitted mostly through dog bites.
So any human that is bitten by an infected dog, invariably, if that fellow is not given post-exposure prophylactic of the rabies vaccine, of the human anti-rabies vaccine, the chances are high that the human will come down with it, and it's fatal.
But also they are highly sensitive to heat. So if you have warm water with soap and then you scrub that area where you got that bite by either a rabid dog or non-rabid dog, it is always very effective in controlling the infection.
Data from the Nigeria Center for Neglected Tropical Diseases shows that 55,000 people die from rabies yearly. It is to draw attention to and prevent all this that the 28th of every September is marked as World Rabies Day. The theme of 2020 edition draws attention to the importance of dog vaccination and need for concerted efforts to meet the 2030 target of eliminating human deaths from rabies. Uche Ugochukwu, NTAi News.
And joining us in the studio is the Chairman, Nigeria Veterinary Medical Association FCT chapter, Dr. Bala Mohammed, to speak more on rabies and man. Dr. Bala Mohammed, you're welcome to our studios.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, looking at the theme, End Rabies, Collaborate and Vaccinate, how well is Nigeria doing in this regard, especially making rabies vaccine accessible and affordable?
Thank you so much. It's that of a mixed feeling, and I will just be very grateful to efforts like what we are having this evening in raising awareness by a station like this, in making sure that people take note of how dangerous this disease is in our life. You saw the statistics posted there that about 55,000 Nigerians die every year to rabies infection, and therefore it is very important that we pay attention to what the theme of this year actually requires, that we must collaborate. Collaboration here means that we must work together, the dog owners, the journalists, the veterinary doctors, those in the environment, the human medical practitioners must collaborate in making sure that we bring to an end this deadly disease. Rabies is one of the most important zoonotic disease that is affecting our people today in Nigeria, and it has been identified that 95% of this death from rabies is actually coming from domestic dogs. So if you have it really open, clear like this, it is important that we close in on these domestic dogs and see how we can vaccinate as many as possible.
Dr. Bala Mohammed, you mentioned collaboration, you also mentioned sensitization. Now, in the face of dwindling economy, what should Nigeria do to ease the economic burden of rabies infection?
Well, thank you for that question, and that is why I see the theme of this year's celebration as apt and very correct. The strategy is One Health strategy. One Health strategy is the one that also focuses so much on non-pharmaceutical approach, where we look after our dogs so seriously. Like I said earlier, the weakest link in the infection of this rabies in man is in the dog, the domestic dog. Since it is now clear that it is the domestic dog, we must raise that awareness and then ensure that all dogs are vaccinated. All dogs are vaccinated against rabies so that we can control it, we can contain it in the dogs.
Thank you very much, Bala Mohammed. Dr. Bala Mohammed, all dogs must be vaccinated, is your advice.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Now, I've been speaking with Chairman, Nigeria Veterinary Medical Association, FCT chapter, Bala Mohammed. Now, efforts to expand learning opportunities for children at the Internally Displaced Persons Camp, IDP camp in Durumi, Abuja, in the face of COVID-19 have gone a step further. The kids now have a solar-powered learning hub with complements of computers and Android teaching and learning applications. Kevin Ehonwaye reports. This report will come to you in our subsequent bulletins. Now, Joyce Ometu comes up with a global COVID-19 pandemic update.
India's coronavirus caseload exceeded 6 million on Monday after it reported 82,170 new infections in 24 hours. With more than 6 million cases, experts say India is on course to surpass the United States in coming weeks as the country with the most cases. Meanwhile, Paris and 11 other cities in France are set to impose stricter measures in attempts to slow the spike in coronavirus cases. The move comes as health workers called for drastic measures to avoid a second wave of the virus. And Greece has recorded its first coronavirus fatality among asylum seekers since the pandemic broke out in that country. Meanwhile, Romanian villagers have re-elected their mayor by a landslide, even though he died from COVID-19 complications, saying he had done a good job and deserved his posthumous victory. Reports say dozens of villagers visited the grave of Ayon Aliman, a social democrat, to light candles after voting had ended in Sunday's local elections. And that's
the much we can take of that global update on COVID-19. Be the star you are supposed to be. Connect with NTAi and stand against rape and rapists.